host, Hope Chishala. Now this morning we are featuring Citizens First President Harry Kalaba. We are also live on Chagwa FM 93.3 as well as Kanele FM, which is 97.7 in Lungu. We are also live for those on DSTV on the audio bouquet. You can catch the hot sit, and for those that are listening and watching right now on our Facebook page, that is the Hot FM Zambia Facebook page, you can be posting your contributions on that page and we'll get to read them as we go on with the program. So once again, our guest this morning is Citizens First President Harry Kalaba. Mr. Kalaba, good morning and welcome to the hot seat.
Good morning, Hope. Good morning, our listeners and viewers from wherever you are listening to us from. It is always good to be on the hot seat. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. How's the year for you so far?
Well, so far so good. We can only say Ebenezer. Start with God, God will guide you throughout. He's faithful.
Okay. And how's the Citizens First Party doing?
The party continues to grow. It continues to prepare itself for the next elections coming up next year. We are forming structures all across the country. We have our leadership all over the country doing what is required of them. We want to ensure that we leave no stone unturned in the process of growing our party so that we can be extremely competitive. In 2021, we were competitive, but not extremely competitive. We came out third in that election. We anticipate to do better in these coming elections next year, probably to win the elections. That is our desire.
All right. Well, once again, Mr. Kalaba, it's good to have you on the show this morning, and we have quite a number of issues to unpack. But let's start with what's trending right now. What is your take on the pending release of the draft constitution by the government, and just what roadmap do you propose for coming up with a better constitution that addresses the needs of all Zambians? There's been a lot of talk around this issue right now, and obviously you've heard what government's position is, and just the different sections of society that have been throwing in word regarding this issue. What's your take on this?
The Citizens First has been very categorical on this matter. We have been very elaborate. We have refused to accept the proposal by the Republican president that State House is going to draft the constitution and then do the amendments which they want to give the Zambian public. We have said this country has had CRCs before, which is Constitutional Review Commissions before. We have had the Mvunga Constitutional Review Commission. We have had the Manakato Constitutional Review Commission. We have had the Mahinza Chona Constitutional Review Commission. We have had the Mumomba Constitutional Review Commissions. We have had all these commissions. And why these commissions were set up, it was to allow Zambians to give their say, to give their word in how they want their country's constitution to be shaped. It is the very first time that we are having a constitutional amendments being made from State House. It is not for State House to do those amendments. It is the people, because the Constitution is a people's document. And we have agreed with the position that LAS has taken. We have agreed with the position that EFFZ has taken, the change. We have agreed with the position that non-governmental organizations have taken. And we have agreed with the position that our fellow political parties have taken on this matter. That the president and his team need to allow the constitution to be dealt with by the people, because Zambia has to be governed by the people, the very people that President Kainde Chile is saying is governing. He should allow them to have a say on their document, which is the constitution. So we are very categorical about this.
So why do you say so? Because just a few days ago we did have a sit down with the Justice Minister, and she did state that this is how the process will go. I'm just getting, before you respond to that, getting to your Facebook page. 4 days ago you did post, you can confirm if indeed you did. Mr. Hakande Hichilema, your secret draft constitution is a betrayal of democracy and an attempt to rig the next election. We will not allow this mafia-style amendment. Hands off the constitution. You did post this, right?
Yes, I did post that. Yes, I did post that, because the manner in which he wants to handle the issues of the constitution clearly tell you that there's a departure from the norm. I was just giving you an example of what we have experienced in the past. In the past, we have seen all these constitutional commissions coming up. That is the norm that this country has been accustomed to. And for him to just announce on Women's Day in Kasama that we have agreed on the amendments that are coming through, I mean, this is strange. That's mafia style. And we are saying we're not going to be party to that. We are not going to support that. And we will stand and oppose him to the hilt that he doesn't do what is wrong. Because this is the only country that we have. And Mr. Akainde Ichilema and his team have an inescapable responsibility to ensure that he carries everybody on board. Even those of us he might not agree with or like. Because he is our president. He has to understand that he has a duty on his shoulders to carry every Zambian along. And it will not do to want to bulldoze and have his own way, because the constitution, as we said earlier, CF, is not a party manifesto. That is the constitution of the Republic of Zambia. If it was a UPND manifesto, that is their own problem. But this is a party, this is a Republican constitution, meaning you, myself, Harry, and others have a say in how the procedures are done and in what we want to see in that document.
What roadmap would you propose, Mr. Kalaba?
It is already there. There's even no need to reinvent the wheel. The roadmap is there. It is to appoint a constitutional review commission that is going to go around the country and pick the views of the people. Thereafter to be subjected to parliament. I think it is there already. We have a roadmap on how these things come up. So for him to begin reinventing the wheel 14 months before we go for elections is not only being fair to the people of Zambia, it's a huge betrayal on his part, and it needs to be serious.
Do you feel there's a need for us to have a new document before we get to the 2026 elections?
Not at all, not at all. I mean, the agency that the people of Zambia have out there has got nothing to do with constitutional amendments. Zambia is not in a constitutional crisis. Zambia is in a leadership crisis. We have a leadership that does not know whether we are coming or going. That is what the problem is, not the constitution. This is the same constitution that ushered in Mr. Akainde Ichilema in 2021, and he won by over 1 million votes. The same constitution today he wants to begin fidgeting around with. We have got 14 months before the elections. Why should we start going through a constitution hurriedly? Because where I come from, they say Basabasa, that was Shawino. And if Mr. Akainde Ichilema and his team want to do these things as if it is their own UPND affair, then they will have a root shock of their lives. We will not allow it, because we should concentrate on the challenges that the ordinary Zambians in Mises, in Kanyama, in the various compounds across the country are going through. The farmers are complaining that fertilizer has not been sufficient. The farmers are complaining that the loans which they had introduced for farmers to get are not being given on time, and those that should get those loans are not getting them for them to access their farming implements. The people in the compounds are complaining that the load shedding, which government told us was not going to last this long, has lasted this long with no hope in sight. We are talking about 20 hours of load shedding daily. These are the challenges the people are talking about. The people are talking about the price of milk, which has continued to go up, while salaries have remained stagnant for those that are lucky who are working. These are the problems that the people of Zambia are talking about. These are the issues that our people want to be dealt with, like yesterday. Where has he gotten the idea that we are in a constitutional mess and that he should come and begin talking about women, that he wants to bring in the women should be promoted? Again, the problem with our president is that at every point he wants to play politics. At every turn he wants to do politics. That is not the way to run a government. From the day that he was elected, he has been playing politics with you. He invited you home at his residence there, where he was telling you that load shedding has finished. You and I are coming from homes. All you need to do as a Zambian is to come from your home, and you realize that load shedding is still here with us. 20 hours of load shedding, and yet just last month, you know, that they renewed the contract to continue supplying 120 megawatts of power to the DRC Congo. How can you renew a contract to continue supplying power to the DRC Congo when your own people in this country are going without power? These are the things we'll deal with immediately we are ushered into power, we are going to stop the export of power to countries until we satisfy the domestic demand. There is no way we can continue on this trajectory, and these are the problems that require the president's attention and his government.
I'm happy you pointed out, because I mean, you've just touched on the cost of living, which continues to rise, and well, we've touched on load shedding. We cannot ignore that it continues to be a challenge. So I was actually going to ask you what economic policies you would propose to address some of these issues.
First of all,
we can start with the energy sector.
Look, in the energy sector, the Citizens First has been very clear. We have said that in the immediate, because the energy sector must be looked at from a three-dimensional perspective. There must be the immediate, there must be the medium term, and there must be the long term. What is the immediate remedy? That we have got the waters in the Kalaba dwindling. What is the immediate remedy for us to quench that? The immediate remedy for us is to immediately stop exporting power to Namibia. The 80 megawatts we are giving Namibia. We have to stop exporting power to Malawi, 50 megawatts. We have to stop exporting power to the DRC Congo, 120 megawatts.
But there are all these
we have to stop exporting power to South Africa through the SADC Power Pool Agreement, the 100 megawatts of power. We have to stop that. You are talking about agreements. Oh, yes, there are agreements that are done, but those agreements were done when Zambia was not in this severe shortage of power that it is in. You can't live normally. You can't continue living normally when you have challenges before you, like the ones that we have. How can you allow your own people, your own voters, people who put you in power, you allow them to go for 20 hours without power, the whole day, and then you are happy when the Namibians come here in this country and begin thanking you for giving them 80 megawatts of power every day at peak time, because the Namibians we are giving them power during the day. Then during the night, we are putting back power in our country. Of what benefit is it for someone who is running a barber shop in Kalingalinga to have power at 02? Of what benefit is it for that lady who is running a salon in Matero and they can't run their salon during the course of the day and power is coming at 01? These are the problems that our government is not taking into consideration. But the problem that is there is that they are very happy to be praised by outsiders. I am not saying I don't love the South Africans. I'm not saying we don't love the Namibians. This country historically has been of great value to the Namibians. We fought the struggle with them in Namibia until they got their independence in 1990. That is why today, when you go to Namibia, those diplomatic number plates, CD1 is reserved for Zambia, out of their own being grateful for the role that Zambia played in their liberation struggle. So, when we say we cannot give them power at the time like this, when we ourselves are struggling, it is not malice. It is only being factual, because there is no way you can give what you don't have. But typical of our system, typical of our leaders in government today, they are more comfortable giving outsiders benefits. I mean, you just look around. You have not gotten any relief so far. And that is the challenge which we have. So when we come into government, the immediate thing that we'll do is to stop exporting power to those countries, return power into this country, so that Zambians can have power. In the long term, what we are going to do is that we are going to stop creating hydropower stations in the southern circuit, because there are no rains anymore in the southern corridor. Experts have told us that rains have remained in central and the northern circuit. That is where now government should begin planning to build power hydro stations. That is one plan we'll do. The second thing that we'll do is to ensure that we just do not rely on hydropower. When I was Foreign Affairs Minister, when you go along that road, the airport road, there is a uranium plant there, because we thought that navigating away, moving away from hydropower dependence was going to help us. So we began building a plant there, which was going to be generating about 20,000 megawatts of power. I went to Russia with the late Siska, who was Secretary of the Cabinet then. We signed an agreement with my colleague then, Comrade Lavrov, he's still Foreign Minister of Russia, where we agreed that Russia was going to help us build that plant, which was going to start generating 20,000 megawatts of power, and that we are going to get students who have been doing sciences at the Commonwealth University at the University of Zambia, Lusaka University, and all these other universities around, good students. We take them to Russia, and the program began for them to go and study nuclear sciences. When they finished their courses, they were going to come and run our nuclear plant there, along the airport road. But that plan has been abandoned. Zambia needs to go back to that plan, and we in government are going to recall that plan to action, because my vision at the time when I was going to Russia to sign for that nuclear plant was to ensure that Zambia begins supplying power to the SADC region, Comesa region, and the Great Lakes region. Remember, the African Union has got a plan of coming up with the Inga Dam in the DRC Congo, which they want to begin generating huge volumes of energy for the African continent. So ours as Zambia was to begin getting proactive instead of being reactive. Let's create our nuclear plant here so that we can already begin creating 20,000 megawatts of power. Zambia's consumption of electricity at peak time is only about 3,400 megawatts of power. That's all. You need the whole country not have any load shedding. Now, if you are producing 20,000 megawatts of power, what it is telling you is that we are going to begin exporting power to countries that are exporting to now. Namibia, instead of giving them 8, would have even given them 200 megawatts. Would have been supplying power everywhere on the African continent. But typical of our colleagues, not having sufficient understanding of what that plant was all about, they have abandoned it. And now they are busy relying on the Kalaba.
What's your assessment of the impact of the Southern African power pool on Zambia's energy sector, and just how can the country optimize its benefits from this regional arrangement?
We have failed to even tap into the SADC power pool agreement, because if we had sufficiently pooled ourselves and our efforts into accessing power using the SADC power pool agreement, we would not be having load shedding to this degree that we are having. But because we go to SADC with a pretentious attitude, we go to SADC pretending we have got power. That is why we are not ashamed. 61 years after independence, we are the only country today in SADC which is having 20 hours of load shedding. Mention any other country, because all these other countries, we have managed to give them power. We have managed to give the DRC 120 megawatts of power. We have managed to give South Africa 100 megawatts of power. Malawi, Namibia, we are giving them power. How can we come and say the SADC power agreement? It is not helping us because we are pretentious. We are not going there to tell them that we have got a deficit. But everybody knows that Zambia is struggling. Everybody knows, apart from the European leadership. They all know.
All right, in case you're just joining us, it's Tuesday's edition of The Hot Seat, and our guest this morning is Citizens First President, Mr. Harry Kalaba. Now, let's touch on, the cutting of aid, the coming in of Donald Trump, the cutting of USAID aid to Africa, including Zambia. Now, this will obviously affect the country's development prospects. And so, what alternative sources of funding or support can Zambia explore?
Zambia has got a lot of resources, Hope. A lot of resources. What Zambia does not have is what President Kagame said in Rwanda some 3 years ago, when he said the problem with Africa, he didn't say Zambia, but he said the problem that Africa has, the first problem is leadership. The second problem is leadership. And the third problem is leadership. Here in this country, you have emeralds. Nobody talks about emeralds. Here in this country, a lot of emeralds, the best emeralds, are found here. Nobody talks about emeralds. Here in this country, you have been competing with countries like Chile, Argentina, in terms of copper production. And yet, our copper is not speaking to the way we are living today. Just last year, we got a report that copper production in this country has now reached about 800,000 metric tons per annum. That's what they are producing now, according to the figures that have been given by government. 800,000 metric tons. From what I read the other day, at the London Stock Metro Exchange there, we are having copper selling for about $10,000 per metric ton. So when you say you are producing 800,000 per year, how much is that in terms of quantums that Zambia has produced? In terms of quantum, it's a lot of money. We're talking about $8 billion US dollars or so per annum. Now, that kind of money, $8 billion, and yet we are here going to the International Monetary Fund asking for $400 million, which will be given to us in tranches. Then it tells you that the challenge that we have in this country is leadership. Because when you look at the mining policy and the tax regime that has been employed to deal with our mines, there's a big challenge. That's why we have said ourselves, when we come into government, there must be a correlation between what Kalumbira, Lumwana, Kansanshi, and Mopani, and all these mines are producing compared to what we are exporting. Today, there is no correlation. China declared that they had imported more copper as compared to what the Bank of Zambia here declared that we had exported. Why should the Bank of Zambia here declare less copper that was exported there, and a country that imported copper from you or bought copper from you is declaring in their country that they had imported more copper than your own country had declared that you had sold? It's because what the right hand is doing, the left hand is not knowing. There used to be a body in this country called MEMACO, if you remember all. The job of MEMACO was basically to see the correlation between what the mines were producing and what was being exported. So that those two things were in tandem. Today, Kansai should just give you figures that this is what we have produced and we have sold. And they will write and get the figures. That's how we are getting them wrong. But if you have your hands on the ball, if you have your policies properly put where things should be happening, there is no need for you to be having that disparity. When we come into government, we are introducing a body like MEMACO back in this country. Because when you look at copper accounts for about 78% of our exports as a country. 78% comes from the mining sector. And yet in terms of the gross domestic product, the GDP, copper only amounts to about 12%. Look at that disparity. Why that huge difference, gigantic difference? It's because what we are mining, the monies that we are getting from the copper are not coming back in this country. The monies that we are selling our copper are remaining in other countries. And this is something that
are you supporting the cutting of aid? Are you supporting Trump?
The Americans have got the right to do whatever they want with their money. We should stop this dependence syndrome. Zambia should not be like that relative who visits your home, and once they come into the home, they want to have the same benefits that you are giving your children in the morning. They also said, but you are giving your child 2 eggs to go to school, and me, I've remained eating just 1 egg. Why are you unfair? I mean, you can't behave like that. Zambia must know that this year in October, we'll be celebrating 61 years of independence. We must stand on our own 2 feet. God has blessed us with the robust human
we must
resource.
stand, but we are not in a position to stand on our
Yeah,
own.
but we have to learn to
Right
stand on
now.
our
So,
own.
and you know, with the cutting of such aids, the sectors, the many sectors, obviously, that have been affected already. We can point at health, we can point at education. So, how do we move forward?
So
Because
ask
we're not
the
in a position
president,
to
so
stand
ask
on
the
our own.
UPND government, ask the UPND government, why did you reduce the mineral royalty tax from 6% to 3%? Why did you reduce your mineral royalty tax from 6% to 3%? Because it means that your resource envelope was halved. When you reduced to impress the foreigners, your resource envelope was halved. And when it was halved, you began struggling with resources. We have the money in this country. What we don't have is the leadership. Because if we had the leadership, there's no way we can be crying north, south, east, and west. Just crying that, oh, Trump has cut. Trump was elected by the people of the USA. Trump is looking after the people of the USA. He's looking after the interests of the people of the USA. Here we elected our president, Mr. Akainde Hichilema, who got more than 60% of the vote in 2021. Why is he exporting power and at the expense of the voters who gave him the vote? Why did he give the foreigners tax holidays when he couldn't give his own people in Soweto market tax holidays? These are the questions people should be asking and answering. Because if we'll just be talking about America and the aid they're giving us, we'll be wasting our time. America is a sovereign state. Zambia remains a sovereign state. Zambia at independence, the British pound and the Zambian kwacha were at par. Zambia at independence, our GDP and the GDP of Singapore were at par. What has happened? The problem is we don't understand that there must be continuity on good things. We don't understand that, like Dr. Kaunda did, he understood that the copper was to work for us. Hope, this is 61 years after independence. Why are we still exporting copper in its raw form? And we are importing copper cathodes. This is 61 years after independence. We should be asking ourselves, why are we growing soya beans in this country and we are importing soya chunks? 61 years after independence, we are still growing peanut butter. We are still importing peanut butter when we are growing groundnuts all over. We grow soya, we grow sunflower in this country, and yet we are importing cooking oil from Malawi. We must be ashamed. It's because our leaders are comfortable. They are comfortable with those things, but the moment we begin asking questions, hard questions, like other progressive jurisdictions, you'll find that Zambia will make progress. Right now, the only deficit we have is that our government loves foreigners more than they love indigenous people here. Look, I gave you last time an example. When I was on this program, interviewed by yourself, I told you, Hope, why is it that we give big businesses to outsiders? That's what I was asking you. Why is it that our borders today, as we are speaking, the ones who are getting the revenue, are foreigners? You go to Kasumbalesa, who is getting the monies on behalf of Zambia? It is a foreign entity. Who is doing your Lusaka and Yola Dual Carriageway? Despite you people getting money from workers' compensation, getting money from NAPSA, you have still allowed ourselves to be getting money we've still allowed ourselves to give a foreign entity to run that project. Why didn't we choose a Zambian? And somebody's going to call on this program and say, no, but Zambians are laissez-faire. Zambians are what? It's not true. These people are of impeccable, they are contractors of impeccable resource. They are contractors who have proven their worth, who Zambians should have considered. But because we are interested in capital flight, every little avenue or revenue that we have, we want to invite the foreigners to come and say, come and take this. Imagine, even in Kasenseni, even the mine the gold mine in Pika, where people are just picking gold from the surface, we have said, no, we have to look for an investor. If I were president in Kasenseni mines, if I were president in Pika, what should have happened is just get the army from Maracan barracks here. Let them go and start digging that gold, stockpile that gold, and then we are going to discuss later. But let's be practical, because that gold we have left everybody to pick, and we hear everything is happening, aiding outsiders to come and get that gold. What should have happened is that the date that we have accrued could have been sorted out. Why is it that Magufuli in Tanzania managed to settle his debts quickly? Why is it that this young man in West Africa, Burkina Faso, is able to deal with his country's debt and pay it off? It's because they have taken a new approach in the manner they are dealing with their debts. But we have continued.
So how do you...
Going out there and drinking tea and coffee and coming back here. And people even went to the airport to welcome Mr. Kaida that has come back. Zambia.
How do you assess the economic performance of the UPND government? I mean, it's been about 4 years now in government. How do you assess the economic performance?
The assessment of the UPND economically can be assessed from the following factors. The first factor is the fact that they have failed. This is why they have failed to understand that they have not appointed women in the roles that they should have appointed them in. That's a huge failure. The president has failed to take advantage of Article 259 of the Constitution, which allows him to appoint equally the sexes, to appoint people to balance regionally. The president has failed. How can you expect an economy to be robust when you have been failing just to balance that? Out of 10 provincial ministers, in this country, 10 provincial ministers, 9 are men, only 1 is female. The other day you saw the records from KBN, they told you that out of 47 missions that Zambia has, only 10 are heading those missions. The rest are male. Out of 25 ministries that we have in this country, 25 ministries, only 4 are women ministers, cabinet ministers, only 4. 21 are men. How do you expect to make progress like that? And then you go and stand on an anthill and you are saying we need to empower women, so we need to have proportional representation. And you even mix the quota system and proportional representation, you even mix them, because you don't even understand what a quota system is, what proportional representation is, and what a mixed member parliament is all about. You don't understand those things. 2, how can the economy do well when you are exporting power which you don't have? An economy can only do well if you are able to use the power which you have prudently for your people, so that their businesses can grow in this world order where things are hard. 3, how can the UPND think? When we told them from inception, we told the UPND, why don't you make Indeni a refinery? That's what we told them. Make Indeni a refinery, buy a hydrocarbon cracker, and we did our research. At that time, it was going to cost government about $450 million to buy a hydrocarbon cracker, to have Indeni become a refinery. They refused. They said we are going to be pumping using this common pipeline at Azam. We are going to be pumping finished products. Petrol will be pumping diesel straight into Zambia. That's a mistake that they have made. Because if you want to create jobs for your people, you have to import crude oil. Come and process it at Indeni, which is a refinery. Once you process it at Indeni, it gives your people some form of employment. Because liquefied petroleum gas, which we are now importing from South Africa, was being done there because from crude, one of the byproducts is LPG, which was being done at Indeni. It is no longer happening in that fashion. You have stopped having bitumen, because bitumen is a byproduct of the same crude oil. But because you are getting a finished product, now even bitumen you have to import it to begin doing your roads. How do you create employment like that? Because even kerosene now, we're supposed to be bringing it from outside. When you had that crude, you are getting all those byproducts. That is the problem that we have with our government. They have failed to create jobs for our local people. And now they are creating jobs from those countries where they are getting those finished products. It is wrong, and it is something we are going to change. Zambia and Angola hope. Zambia and Angola. Angola is an oil-producing country. What should happen is to lay a pipeline between Zambia and Angola, so that Zambia can begin procuring cheap oil from Angola. Once you begin procuring cheap oil from Angola, you have bought your hydrocarbon crackers in the refinery. What that means is that now your fuel will be cheaper in this country. ERB will rest. It's the first time in the history of this country that you have the Energy Regulation Board announcing the price of these commodities every month. It's because our colleagues don't have a plan. They don't know where they're coming from.
Do you feel the time they've had has been enough for them to fix the country economically? I'm using the word fix because, that's the slogan they came in with. Do you think the time they've had so far is enough for them to fix the country? When they were ushered into government, we were told we'll be on a path of economic recovery, pointing at how the states the country was in at the time. Economically, well, the coffers were empty, and also we can point at the debt they had to deal with that, and the many other issues that we can look at right now. So do you feel that they've had enough time to get it right with the economy? Or they need more time to fix things?
When, I'll start from 1991. When UNIP lost power to the MMD in 1991, they found a gigantic debt that UNIP had accrued. The MMD did not go and stand on an ante and in the morning shout Kaunda is the one who has left us with this problem. In the evening, they would shout, no, it's Grace Zulu. In the eye, they'll say, no, Ruben Kamala. They didn't do that. What the Chiluba administration did at the time, because they were serious with governance, what they did at the time themselves was to ensure that they brought in policies, proactive policies, that turned the fortunes of this country. At the time that those things were happening, I don't know how young or you were, in 1991, there was a problem of transport in this country. Those who are old will remember. There was a problem of transport in this country. We used to use UBZ, United Bus Company of Zambia. What the Chiluba administration did within the first 3 months of their being in government, they said they were going to remove duty on any citizen that was going to bring in vehicles. They allowed the private sector to play a pivotal role in the enhancement of transport in this country. They said we are going to remove duty on any citizen that was going to bring in number buses. And we had a lot of ZTCMs coming in this country. Within 3 months, things changed. From people sleeping at Intercity, waiting for the buses to go to Lundazi, waiting for the buses to go to Isoka, now it was the buses waiting for the people. That is how we changed. He was not crying for 3 years, just crying to say, no, we are going to do this. He didn't do that. What next happened to this country? Fast forward. I'm giving us first examples. Mr. Saka, when he came into government, may his soul rest in peace, in 2011, Mr. Saka came up with the Link Zambia 8,000, Pave Zambia 2,000. He began doing roads we never imagined would be done. He began paving our cities all over and across the country. He did not stand on the ante and began saying, no Rupia Banda, no Levi Mwanawasa. He didn't have time for that. When Levi Mwanawasa was president, he didn't waste time talking about Frederick Chiluba. No, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. When he heard from the farmers that there was a problem of bread in this country and that we're importing wheat, what did he do, Mwanawasa? What Mwanawasa did was that what he did was to increase excise duty.
So what you're saying is they spend so much time on finger pointing?
They talk too much and they act less.
But
they are
those
full
the
of themselves.
Then how do you ignore them? If
What's the realities? We are telling you the things, how careless the UPND has been. The UPND has been one of, in fact, the most careless regime this country has witnessed. The UPND has managed to make Zambia poorer than they found them. And they are boasting. The president was boasting the other day in Monze. Was it in Mungu? Where he was saying, Akani kationgo chabe, kationgo kanjala, kationgo ka fuel shortages, kationgo ka light. So if he says ni kationgo ka load shedding, it means the load shedding we are going to have. When we make a mistake of allowing him again next year, which mistake we won't make, it means there will be a problem in this country. He said it himself at Akani kationgo chabe. So we are saying they have missed the fundamentals. They have failed to understand that the mines would have played a role in helping us run and shape this country if we got it right. The first thing we'll do ourselves when we come into government, we'll sit down with the mining conglomerates and tell them how we want to proceed. Because Zambia has got a lot of resources. The UPND, if they had leveraged on the resources that Zambia has, we would not be in the kind of problems that we're having today. We would have done much better. But they are big talkers, and very little action.
Now, one of the wins the UPND administration points at is the CDF, and we have to look at increments in terms of allocations to these constituencies, which we have noted. What's your take on the effectiveness of CDF in promoting local development?
You know, I'm talking, I'll give you, again, I will draw a parallel to that, an example. It's like a husband who's working for Hot FM. Oscar Chagwa begins, Oscar Chagwa, may his soul rest, Oscar,
Oscar.
Oscar,
yes,
who's the MD here. Zach is the one who was going to be with the Lord, may his soul rest in peace. Oscar says, you man, you have worked very well. And you man, we are going to increase your salary. You are getting 5,000, you'll now be getting 15,000. And the wife at home celebrates, but now, my husband, because of working hard at Hot FM, is going to have 15,000 of pay. But when that 15,000 of pay has been given to this man working for Hot FM, that 15,000 at home is not reflecting. They continue with the Pamelas at home. They continue with the not having, struggling with school fees. They continue with the Upimisha Kapeng. Are you telling me the wife is going to stand on an auntie and celebrate that Hot FM because he's now getting 15, used to get 5,000? She will not say that because it is not reflecting in their lives, in their home. You keep talking about CDF has been increased to 35 million, to 38 million, and you are mentioning big figures. Those monies are not trickling down to the people. And I want to challenge the government. I want to challenge the government. Let them tell me constituencies that have received the full money. Let them tell us.
Maybe you should tell us which ones have not received.
No constituency has received all the monies. From our research at Citizens First, there is no single constituency in a single year that has received all the monies. The money is on paper, not in the banks. The money is just on paper. And the little money which goes to the constituencies is shared among the UPND guys.
How do we get it right with CDF?
How do we get it right? Because we should understand the genesis of CDF. CDF was an idea which was mooted in West Africa, I think Senegal. The Senegalese looked at their system and found that the bureaucracies which the members of parliament were going through in accessing money from central government was too much, and that they needed to have a quick relief by getting monies from their parliamentary offices, where they could quickly fix a blown-off roof, where they could quickly fix a classroom without desks, where they could quickly do some grading of roads and so on and so forth. They did that system. Our colleagues, the parliamentarians, I think that was in 1994, 95, they traveled to West Africa. They found that idea, and then they copied it from there and brought it into our parliament to see how best it can help our systems. If CDF was a grandiose thing that is going to sort out the problems, the Americans would have been having CDF as well. The British would have been having CDF as well. Other jurisdictions would have been having CDF as well. But this government, because they have not taken a time to do what Wakaunda did, research and development, they have not invested in that component. They just come and look at CDF in its singular perspective and say, CDF is going to help us, let's increase it. From 1 million, I think they increased it to 27 million. Me, I already knew that these ones are getting it wrong. And they failed. Because you can't increase from 1.5 or 2 million, you increase it to 27 million because CDF was going to answer the challenges. It has not answered the challenges. There are still a lot of problems, despite CDF being increased those levels. CDF now is being used as a campaign tool by the UPND to retain themselves in power and continue injecting hardship on the people of Zambia. They want us to continue suffering with load shedding if they win the elections next year. They want us to continue struggling with the price of milling. They want us to continue suffering with civil servants who have upgraded themselves, civil servants who have upgraded themselves. They have read, someone entered as an administrative officer or as an executive officer. They now have a master's degree and they're still in those positions. Instead of being elevated to human resource, to assistant director, they're not being promoted. These are things we should be talking about because we have teachers all across this country who entered at this level and they have managed through their own efforts to improve themselves, and government has not helped them. That is why we have said ourselves, when we come in, especially like me, I was a civil servant. Remember, I did 10 years of civil service before I went into this politics. 10 years as a civil servant. I understand the challenges civil servants go through. And we are saying we are tired of having only politicians getting duty-free vehicles. We want civil servants, those who have worked hard, after 10 years, after 5 years, depending in the field you are, because we categorize them as well, they need to qualify for a duty-free vehicle. These civil servants need to qualify. They need to qualify for land as well. Without even struggling, they need to qualify for land, because that is what the manifesto of the Citizens First is saying. Civil servants who have worked for 5 years and above should be able to qualify for land in any part of this country. After all, it's one Zambia, one nation.
Okay. Well, we'll be opening up the phone lines shortly. If you have any question or contribution to make, we'll be getting to the phone lines shortly. Otherwise, you can post your questions or your contributions on our Facebook page. That is the Hot FM Zambia Facebook page. We're also live on Kwitu FM 93.3 as well as Canada FM 97.7 in Londazi. Now, Mr. Kalaba, let's talk about your party right now, the Citizens First Party. 2026 polls approaching. What political alliances or collaborations is Citizens First exploring?
The Citizens First is already a member of the United Kwacha Alliance. That is the alliance that Citizens First has been a member of from inception, from the time that OCA was created in 2024, February. The CF has been part of that alliance, and we intend to continue being part of that alliance because we believe that there is unity in collaboration. Zambians all across this country have asked us to forge alliances. They have asked us to put our heads together so that we can push this agenda, not from a narrow perspective, but from a broader perspective. Zambians don't want to see a situation like they saw in 2021, where we had 16 contenders for the presidency. They would want to narrow it down to maybe 3 or 2 contenders in the coming elections. That's what they want to see. Because of non-government organizations, the church and everybody was involved in that movement. So you can want to call it an alliance if you want. The PF itself, you remember that the PF and the ULP at one point were in an alliance. The UPND were in an alliance with, at first were in an alliance with this guy who died. There's this man who died, is it Lungu or something? He died on an alliance with his party. Then later on they had people like Honorable Mutati, my older brother KDF, Leonard Council, Ernest Mwansa. All these came together to work with the UPND, and they came into government. So nobody can tell you and I that alliances in Zambia don't work, because the historic perspective I've given you tells you clearly that political parties have been in one alliance or another of some sort. And the Citizens First is not an exception.
And the talk that you're joining Tonse Alliance, you're moving to Tonse?
The talk which I heard, I hope, is not that I'm moving to Tonse. You know, I was on a program on Prime TV, and they asked me a question: are you joining Tonse? And then I said, no, I'm not joining Tonse. Then they said, but why are you not joining Tonse? So I said, the Citizens First is available to work with everybody, all progressive alliances. And then the journalist asked me, is Tonse not progressive?
No, that's the right question to ask.
The question is, for me, if he had allowed me to allow the viewers and the listeners to finish how I answered him, would have been fair. But you know, they cut it. So that I am saying, we are available, now to make it very clear, we are available to work with Tonse Alliance, we are available to work with Zambia We Want, we are available to work with the Socialist Party, we are available to work with Zambians who have stood up at a defining time like this and say we cannot continue being rude in this fashion. We cannot continue to be rude in a fashion like we have got no say in our own country. where people are telling us, our leaders are telling us lies every day without shame. They can tell you fuel will be costing 6 kwacha. This is what I believe socialist parties.
So which other alliance looks very attractive, Mr. Clark?
I am in Uka. It's like asking someone who's married to a woman, and you're asking him which other woman looks.
But you're saying
you're already married to. What are you talking about?
But you're also saying you are available.
But we are available to collaborate with other alliances, like Chauncey, like Zambia We Want, like Socialist Party, those that have stood up at a defining moment like this to say we can't continue like this. Enough is enough. And to take advantage of this platform, I would want to urge our colleagues in the various alliances and political affiliations. We need to begin looking at what brings us together rather than what divides us. We have to begin narrowing our differences more so that we can shape the destiny of this country. Zambians will not forgive us if we continue pursuing our individual interests at the expense of the larger good. Another 5 years of the UPND will be catastrophic for this country. And we'll have ourselves to blame if we don't stand up and tell Mr. Kainde Ichilema 5 years of negligence, 5 years of supporting foreigners only, 5 years of increasing the price of milling, 5 years of increasing the price of essential commodities is enough. We must tell him that boldly, with confidence, come 2026. He has to go. Enough is enough.
All right, we need to get to the phone lines now. 0974-870-877. If you have any question or contribution to make, you can start dialing. Our guest this morning on the hot seat is Citizens First President Harry Kalaba.
87.7. It's time for you to call now and get involved. Call now and get involved.
All right, give us a call 0974-870-877 if you have any contribution to make this morning. It's Tuesday's edition of the hot seat. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mama.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Kalaba.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Where you been there told when you come to power you are going to do than to bring President Hakainde Hichilema. For example, this constitution. Right now, when you go to Rosada, the all of these are dead. Because of MOP, they don't sit in the council. That's why we need this constitution amendment so that we can put the amendment so that MOP, be it in the Tasira Lungu, be it in the Honorable Chagwa, can sit in the council, be it in Chagwa or whatever.
All right. All right, we've given you enough time. Thank you so much, Dr. Proud. Thank you so much. All right, thank you. Have a good day. All right, we'll take in 2 more, then I'll allow you to respond. 0974-870-877. That's the number that gets you through to the hot seat this morning. Hello? Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Your name?
It is well with my soul.
All right, go on.
Why is it that in Zambia, despite economic self-existence, it has remained almost 80 years behind to that and to China, which is a communist state? From 1949 up to date, China has developed more than to call our self-existence. Is it that are we Christians on commodity or are we really near to God? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that direct question there. 0974-870-877. Let's take in one more, and then you can respond to them. Hello, good morning. Good morning, you're through to the hot seat. Hello, good morning. Your name?
My name is Edgar.
All right, go on.
I've been provided the Honorable Kalaba. He has been praying for the transfer. In the constitution,
Yeah, sure, go on.
Is that leaders we have, but we've got leaders who are not organized. Leaders who don't understand what they're doing. Leaders who don't believe in themselves. Zambia has got potential to develop. But leaders, we don't have leaders to rise. We have an example of this young fella who is 6 years old in Burkina Faso. He has done tremendous things within years. Using the natural resources the government has, the land has. So we have all the natural resources that can take Zambia to the high tide. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that. How you can respond to those?
Maybe I will start with Ernest. Ernest, thank you very much for that very important observation you've made. So the question is an observation. Our leaders indeed are very disorganized. It's about themselves. It's about what they can get out of the country, not what they can give to the country. And that's where the challenge is. We have businessmen whose sole interest is self-aggrandizement, is to make more money, because that's what they're saying. We lost a lot of money when we were campaigning. We lost a lot of money when we were in the opposition for 23 years. Now it's time to eat. It's time to share. Basically, it is looting which is happening. And you give an example of Burkina Faso, Traore. Traore, why he is making that progress is because he's standing up for Zambian people. The same things I'm talking about here. We have leaders, when they see foreigners come, they're scared of them, and they begin pleasing them at the expense of your own people who voted for you. It is wrong. It has to come to an end. And we are bringing this to an end next year when we take over. The issue of Mr. Chilima from Kanyama, he says we're a Christian country, and yet China, which is not a Christian nation, is doing far much more better than we are doing as a Christian nation. I think the Bible says faith without works is dead. What the scripture is inviting us to is to be practical. Remember, even in the Bible, you learn about the talents. So I gave you this. What did you add to this? I gave you that. I gave you. What have you added to what we have given you? God has given you a favorable climate. God has given you fertile soils. You are growing soya beans, but you are importing soya chunks. You are growing sunflower, but you are importing cooking oil. You have got milk coming from as far as Uganda. Right now we are importing milk. Those are issues that have impoverished our country. We are failing to take care of ourselves because our leaders are too smart. And they are failing to think outside the box. The Chinese in 1978 made a deliberate policy because China was just as poor as we are here. China made a deliberate policy. They said they were going to invest in agriculture, and that agriculture was going to take them out of the poverty line, and it did. 30 years later, the Chinese were doing extremely powerful in agriculture. Millions were employed in that sector. Zambia must learn from best practices and push in that agenda. Dr. Proud was saying, don't write offer alternatives. First of all, it says offer alternatives. Dr. Proud, I think here where I've sat, you can bear me witness that I have been trying to offer alternatives from the energy sector, in the mining sector. We are saying how best this thing should be. When we talk about procuring the hydrocarbon cracker for India, it's how best we should proceed. When we say we should stop exporting power and investigate and interrogate other forms of the energy mix, those are alternatives we are giving. When we say, you have said you have not appointed women women need to be appointed, and you need to have PRI introduced in our constitution through constitutional amendments. We are saying you have got the provisions given to you within the ambit of Article 259 of our constitution. So we are giving alternatives. You say you write to the USA. Yes, the Citizens First wrote to the United States, telling them about Mr. Kainde Hichilema's behavior on the issue of the Constitution. We have also explained to them concerning the Electoral Commission of Zambia. These issues are being brought to the fore because Mr. Kainde Hichilema only listens to foreigners. He listens much more to those that he respects than the voters. So we had to write to the people that he respects, the people that he listens to, so they can have a say and they chat with him while Dr. Brown. I don't, and I must put this very categorically, I harbor no hatred for our president, Mr. Kainde Hichilema. It is not within me to hate a man who does not have anything personal between me and him. When I speak, Mr. Dr. Brown, it's because I am an opposition leader. I am coming into government next year. The Zambian people need to hear what alternatives you're going to bring to the table when we talk over governance next year. So it's got nothing to do with hating Mr. Hichilema. To the contrary, I admire the president because the president can tell you a lie with a straight face. And the next day you go to another place, tell another lie. You go to another place, tell another lie, without even being apologetic. He's a strong man, strong character.
Right, we are getting back to the phone lines, but before we do that, we have some messages on our Facebook page. We have a message here from Mr. Lawrence Mapombi. He's the president of the Cleaning Association of Zambia, and he says, we in the cleaning sector face numerous challenges. We have a foreign cleaning contractor, Mr. Clean, of South Africa, at ShopRite for 30 years without tendering. How and why should we continue in such a situation in our own country? What is your comment in such attitudes by investors in Zambia, and your advice to the current Minister of SME and also the Minister of Commerce? That is his question there. We get back to the phone lines. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Bombi. Hello, good morning, Mr. Bombi. Hello, we can get you. We can hear you. Go on.
I am fine, Francis Mombi. How are you, sir?
And it is up to the government to pay the lending here. What a good thing that took place. It is for the benefit of the Zambian. Doesn't mean whether it's Kalaba speaking, President Kalaba, whether it is who is speaking, President or whoever. But as long as people are speaking for the Zambian, those in government, you've got the duty and authority to make sure that the put in place what will be good for them.
Right. Seems we lost him there. We'll have to pick up another one, but I believe you got the points he was raising there. Hello, good morning. You're through to the hot seat. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Your name and contribution. All right, go on. Yes, it is. You're through to the hot seat.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, before. That's one thing I would say. And the other thing I can just say maybe in terms of the leadership is we really need to educate the voters. Voters need to know who they're supposed to put in power. Maybe that's the contribution that I can say, because we've seen it, we're just voting without knowing. When you voted such a citizen like you, my leader, I can tell that Zambia, can develop within a short period of time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for that. I believe we'll just take that as a compliment, but you have those other messages to respond to.
Mr. Fumbesh, thank you very much for the niceties you've lavished on me. I'm deeply humbled. We'll work hard to not just impress the Zambian people, but to walk the talk, to really live to what we are promising that we will do. That is to uphold the sovereignty of our country and to ensure that we concentrate on alleviating the challenges that our people are going through by being proactive, by ensuring that Zambians begin benefiting from their natural resources, and that nobody, no amount of interference is going to stand in the way of what we need to provide the people of Zambia. Because you can't have a country 61 years after independence, we have failed to produce a billionaire in this country. Namibia, a country which got independence in 1990, they have a billionaire. Botswana, 2 million people, they have a billionaire. You go to Angola, don't even talk about billionaires. South Africa, billionaires. It's because of the way we are in this country. Anybody that we see progressive, instead of government bring them closer, the way the Nigerians did when they saw Mr. Dangote, they brought him closer, empowered him. We don't do that. What we do is to investigate and to alienate businessmen when we change government. This businessman was PF, therefore you cannot work now. Let others also enjoy. This businessman was UPND. The Citizens First has said whether you are a UPND person as perceived, the fact that you are a Zambian and you are doing business legitimately so, you deserve to be given an opportunity. If you are good in pharmaceuticals, if you are good in supplying of oil, supplying of what, you have to continue in that field to help the people of Zambia. This country stayed for 6 months when the UPND took over government. They stayed for 6 months without buying medicines in hospitals because they were investigating. At whose expense were they doing that? That was carelessness of the highest order. So we will not do that. Mr. Lawrence Makumbi, I have heard you. Now, these are the problems we're talking about, where you have local people who are involved in the cleaning association, in the cleaning enterprise. You go and get an outsider to say you are the one who's going to be doing this for ShopRite or for whoever without even bidding. And nobody is talking about it. My good brother, I'm Minister for Medium Enterprises. Mr. Mubanga is not doing his job because our good minister is always going for these by-elections. He doesn't miss when it comes to by-elections. If the way he's following up by-elections is the way he was following up on these complaints for our people, then these people will not complain. But I can tell you, Lawrence, don't worry. It's just 14 months remaining. When we change next year, all these bad habits change. All those who think they are untouchable, they will fail.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Your name? Namanda, all right, go on.
Anamanda Mashuga Mbai.
Umfimbira jealousy yakuti ifiri vyose akainde ufanga chita veina fimbi tubirena tabamuna mwekisuma iyo tuchinje urupapo bana maye bafune mu parliament vyavipa bayuzi baye ku parliament chose tuchimbi CDF turundeko ukuthi abantu balesetha ma skills beshi anchito chose vyavipa imwecho mwaishiba mu position kuzusha ulekala nokweba imobeli mu mwaka wena wile chalo bale mupokenda lamo kumwatipoka ku China indalama chose mwapokere mwaingisha mmenji chose mwanwe chose mwabonja chitalo chashalomba kunkongole haka indala atakata kukuti afona nkongole indalama alipile nkongole zhalale kongole ma PF mwa alifumene mu PF mwate mwibufufu mtungu ete mwafumene mu jinshi bufufu mtungu pangalise idumba nyakapina bahaka ini ukuti tuweshe nkongole zhalale kubufufu mtungu kuya mwatene mu PF mwalatungirira makakora mwalasapote balebe nabalebenda kama ewo mwafumenemo ni fish play people bakalaba bombereni abantu twibonera amatumba yesu iyo tubona balunga abalatyo batonzi tichimerereta kate bofu vakachitefi pusene kokuchira filibane chidaka yakalipo takatereva abantu
Okay. Okay, twatotera. Shitayakwana. Okay, send a better time, but the response, twatotera. Alright. Thank you so much for that. Let's just take in one more and then you can come in afterwards. Hello, good morning. Good morning, you're through to the hot seat. Yeah? Okay. Alright, sure, go on. Alright, thank you so much, Mr. Mumbi. Alright, thank you so much. I've given you enough time. Alright, thank you so much. Yeah. Alright, let's allow him to respond. I believe he picks the points he was trying to raise there.
Who is
You have
this?
those two. Yes, that's Mr. Mumbi again.
Mr. Mumbi, okay. First of all, Brother Amanda, I hope he was using a Bemba. May I use
Sure.
Thank you very much. Brother Amanda na Totera. Mwalanda ma issues wa Brother Amanda sana. Yo mwashtarezi. Mwalanda kutira. Kwa to mufimbira. Pali wakaende ichile. Earlier on, nachela chita respond by Dr. Proud. Aba chilando kutira twali mpata akaende ichile. Sena chilando kutira akaende ichile mabakalamba bandi. Chaka tapo problem na akaende ichile. Akaende ichile mabali bombesha bafika pali go president. And techo mbakatira kwa omuntu ichi. Pero mwalando kutira akaindira abachinja constitution kautira bana mawe bese mati konsefi. Nachalondola bana manda. Nachala ndokutira mu constitution mwali ba article 259 iyo yapela ba president besu amaka aya kuchinja na ngwa kuchita point ba nyinefwe na bashitata abalingana but nachipela example batamachumfu nachilando kutira ile lo cabinet yesu yakwata ama ministers aba 25 out of a minister 25 bakainde ichi na bashita fair point ba minister 4 bana mayo 21 bound kaina chando kutira ma provincial ministers ya bate but 10 provincial ministers bakainde ichi bashita fair point na mayo sharing ya tabulo musaka aba shara bunzi ibashitata abafwaya ukuchita point bashitata nangula bana mayo ba president provincial capitals ngavachitire kuappoint vana mai nangu 5 nomba vapresident vachitire appoint vachitatu havafayo kuchita appoint vana mai vave nemucabinet ngavachita appoint vavafe 4 vapresident vesu havafayo kuchita appoint vana mai vari kuatensambu muparliament chiyavalando kuti vachita nominate ama-MPs kuparliament avari 8 pane avo vachita appoint navo vachita nominate 8 vapresident vavulapofe vamai vana mazoka o vachita appoint vaya vana vachitata fulufulu vavaleta kuparliament so ifirelanda vapresident dechinga kaviri muivepwa nachirandokutila vapresident vakwete chinga mufe valelanda mwalandokutila vala mukongole nkongole valechitakilie nkongole va-PF vakongwele umulandu vavasalile vaakainde ichilemba kuisa wami echalo kuisa kontrole ifintu pantu vamazambia nzolo vafunishepo va-PF vaitapo va-UPND nicho valimwena kutila vakainde echila vakaisa kontrole ifintu uliokufi vaitu vepele ukwakulando hunga ukabwela ukufuma pali 148 wali ukesa kuli 50 kwacha echalengira abantu bemyinilongo nokuyavotera vaakainde nimuli okufi vamukwele ovakumukola ovalangile okutila fuel nomba ikava ni 6 kwacha per liter nimuli okufi vavile amafarmers ukutila fertilizer nomba tukalasa 200 kwacha omfumo inendifama tuleshita fertilizer omfumo ni 1200 kwacha kwakumilenge ntimina so natulelande fintu tekova chikupato iyo alo wakufi kavepa bwiminini kanomulemwelelapo batila pamenso ya munobe tapemankala mwaikulya elo yavuluma tailya eyakulya vulo yabona.
All right, I believe you've responded to all of them there. All right, we need to close now, Mr. Kalaba, but before we do that, we celebrated Youth Day a few days ago. I'd love to find out from you what initiatives or policies you have as the Citizens First, what you would propose to address youth unemployment, which proves to be a big issue right now. And how do you feel the UPND administration has stepped in for the youth? It was a youthful vote. They ushered them into power. They turned up in numbers. Do you really feel they have really catered their needs as a government?
The UPND government has totally neglected the youth. The UPND government has got nothing to do with the youth. And I say so with a lot of audacity, because those youths who woke up early in the morning were hopeful that the tax incentives they were giving, the UPND is giving the foreigners, the youths were hoping the tax incentives will be given to them. That is why we have proposed ourselves that the Youth Commission we are going to bring into effect when we form government will be one which will be reporting directly to the president, because we want to mainstream the youth agenda. We want all ministries to have a component of the youth. We want all parastatals to have a component of the youth. The youths are the ones happening now. They are the ones who will be happening tomorrow. You just can't use youths for your own selfish benefits. It is high time that the youths were given their rightful place. And how will we create an incentive for them? One, we have said we are going to industrialize this country. That is why that nuclear plant along the airport road will be finished, because you can't industrialize without power. We have said value addition is going to absorb a lot of our youth, because when we start making cooking oil in our country instead of importing it, our youths will have jobs. When we start adding value to Mukola tree instead of exporting it in its raw form, our youths will have jobs. When we start making glass in this country instead of importing it from South Africa, our youths will have jobs. So we'll have youths get involved in all these sectors of our economy. We will have youths leaving the University of Zambia, leaving Lusaka University, leaving all these colleges, even in college. Once they leave these colleges, the youths will have access to a fund for youth that will enable them to begin something for themselves. Not the way they are handling the CDF, the way they are handling the CEC here. Not the way they are handling it. The youths need to have their own special fund. A fund which they can access once they leave university, once they leave colleges, They should have that fund. As they're joining industry, they have where to start from, not the way it is now. They have been neglected, there's nothing happening for them, and we can only tell them that don't worry as well. The future is calling. There is hope for you tomorrow, because definitely you are the ones happening, and we have to protect your interests, and we will. That is why the Commission for Youth will be reporting directly to the President.
Right, well, Mr. Kalaba, thank you so much for coming through this morning. We have to end here.
Thank you so much for having me, and I've taken note of the question that was asked by my brother, who was asking on the issue of the fire brigades, that we need to increase funding for them. He is right. We shall endeavor to do that, and also look at their welfare, just like the police welfare. We have to look at the police welfare, the ranks and how they are being promoted, because we know what's happening there. As I said, I'm a civil servant and I understand how the police are struggling. I understand the challenges that they're going through, the promotions, the transfers that are happening. We are going to manage that, don't worry. We'll manage that. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And thank you for listening to our viewers. And for those of you who took time to call, thank you so much for being so generous. God bless you and yours. I thank you.
All right, have a good